biblical book of Ecclesiastes writes, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to laugh, and a time to weep, a time to seek, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to let go." We've come here this afternoon for what is probably the most difficult moment that any family has to face in their lifetime. We've come here to bid farewell to a loved one, to someone who has shared so many of your lives for a very, very long time, who has been a part of your lives in oh so many ways, someone who has always been there for you to share in your life's occasions of joy and happiness, as well as those moments of sorrow. And so I'm going to begin this service as we come to honor the memory of Sarah Lieberman with a selection of prayers appropriate for this occasion. Adonai, ma'adam v'teidoehu, ben enosh vatchashvehu. Adam lehevel dama, yamav kitzel over. Zeram tov sheni yehiyu, baboker kechatzir yachalof, baboker tyatzitz v'chalaf, le'erev yamalel v'yavesh. Yemei shenoseinu behem shivim shana, v'im bigvuros shemonim shana, v'rabam amal v'oven gigos chish v'na'ufa, Limnos yameinu kein hoda v'navil vav chachma shemar tam re'ei yasha ki achris le'ish shalom achlihim yivde nafshi mi'ad sha'ol ki chacheni sela poda adinai nefesh avada v'lo yeshmu kol hachosim bo v'yashov ha'ofar al ha'oretz ki shahaya v'haruach tashuv el ha'olihim asher nasana. O Lord, what is man that thou should notice him? What is mortal man that thou should consider him? Man is like a breath. His days are like a passing shadow. He flourishes and grows in the morning. He fades and withers in the evening. O teach us to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. Mark the innocent. Look upon the upright. For there is a future for the man of peace. Surely God will free me from the grave. He will receive me indeed. My flesh and my heart fail, yet God is my strength forever. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. Man originated from dust, and in the end returns to dust. What is the meaning of life? A human being is like the grass that withers, like the flower that fades, and like the cloud that vanishes. Life is as a dream that flies away. For man is mortal, but God is eternal, everlasting. After hearing from the family about the life of Sarah Lieberman, Sarah Bat Ze'ev, my next selection is from the book of Proverbs, where King Solomon describes the Eshes Chayil, the woman of valor. Eshes Chayil mi yimsa v'rochach mipnini michra, botach b'olei ba'ala v'shalolo yechsar, Kamalasu tov v'lo ra kol yemei chayeha. Kapar posel la'ani v'deha shilcha le'evyon. Noda b'sharim ba'ala b'shifto mziknei oretz. Oz v'hada levusha v'tischak liyam acharon. Pia pascha v'chachma v'soras chesed al l'shona. Sefia halichos beisa v'lechem atzlus lo sochel. Kamu v'neha v'ashruha ba'ala v'yahalala. Rabos banos soso chawayil ve'atalis al kulana. Sheker hachein ve'hevel hayofi. Isha yiras adinai hisis halal. Tunulami priyadeha. V'halaluha v'ashori ma'aseha. A woman of valor who can find. Her price is far above rubies. She is priceless. She does good and not harm all the days of her life, stretcheth out her hand to the poor, and reaches forth her hand to the needy. Strength and dignity are her clothing. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She is concerned for her family, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her family calls her blessed, and they praise her, saying, many women have done valiantly, but you excel them all. Grace is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a God-fearing woman shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. And I will now recite the well-known selection from the book of Psalms, the 23rd Psalm, which has brought solace and consolation to many a family. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsor, binos deshe yarbitzeini, al me menuchos yinahaleni, nafshi yeshove v'yancheni v'magli tzedek leman shemo, gam ki yelek b'geit salmoves lo irara, ki ato imodi, shiftecha mishantecha hema yanachamuni, ta'aroch lefanei shulcha neged soirerai, dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi rivaya, achto v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveis Adonai la'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Friends, today we're filled with many memories. A woman that lived a very long life, close to a century. And we remember today the hardships and the pleasures, the trials and the triumphs, the joys and the sorrows that were shared together in a lifetime. And so a number of family members are going to share with us their memories, their recollections of really an extraordinary mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, Sarah Lieberman. And so we'll first call upon Bill, the son, Bill Lieberman, to share with us some of his feelings at this time.
I really don't have a speech. I thought it was more important for my children, my grandchildren, to hear more about Mom's life. And I'll try not to mention her age too many times because she did not like people to know how old she was. She was born in Cleveland in 1917, youngest child in a family of 4 children. And, you know, we all think we have challenges in life. And, you know, when you hear the story, my mother really didn't talk about it that much, but it's just an amazing that she would see the success that she saw in her 100 years. youngest of 4 children. Her father died in 1918. She was 1 year old from the flu. It was a Spanish flu back then. I don't know medically a lot about that, but now you'd probably go to the CVS or Walgreens or one doctor's appointment and you'd be okay. So there was a mother with 4 little children, probably under the age of 7 or 8, before welfare, before charities, before all those things. Was just dependent upon family. She had what my mother called a candy store, but it was probably like a little coffee shop on Scoville or Woodland. And that was kind of how she sustained the family. That wasn't, that was pretty tough. But her brother, who was the 3rd youngest in the family, at an early age developed polio. And, now there was a mother trying to take care of a child, and she did. Never any talk about we didn't have money to do this or we didn't have money to do that. They found a way. She never complained about being poor, poverty. We never heard that. And that impact, the impact of that kind of hit me later in life. We were at Sandy's Aunt Gertie. I think Rosh Hashanah was probably the holiday that we always went there for. And Aunt Gertie and my mother both graduated from John Hay High School in whenever it was, same year. And Aunt Gertie brought out the yearbook, and I said, "Oh, this is going to be great. I've never seen this." And we look in the yearbook. My mother's picture wasn't there. And I went back home. I said, "Mom, your picture wasn't in the yearbook." And she says, "Well, we couldn't afford it." Now, all of us, think about that. Think about telling your children now, we don't have money to put your picture in a yearbook, but she was fine with it. That was okay. She knew what was important. She met my dad through her brother. They were friends, but they probably lived a few blocks away off Kinsman from each other. But he was a couple years older. They got married in 1940. My dad was drafted right after Pearl Harbor, so that was late 1941. My mother had never traveled any place, no vacations, until she went to see him after basic training. So she took a train down to South Carolina, North Carolina, wherever it was. And that was kind of how she got used to traveling, or any traveling that she had, she would kind of follow him around. They delayed having children because they were always worried that my father would be called overseas. And he came close, almost to the shore a few times, but never had to go to Europe during World War II. So you can see they were pretty conservative people. Growing up, we never felt poor, although we knew people always had more than we did, but my mother made us feel like that wasn't really important. In fact, yesterday we were driving down here, June and I, and we drove down Silsby, our old house. I used to think the yards were so big and all that, and we had our next door neighbor, Renee lived there. Next door neighbor had a big yard that we used for wiffle ball. I thought it was, like a ball field. I looked at it now; it's a postage stamp. But we didn't know any different. She emphasized the importance of family and good health. She was very proud of us, but she'd never express it. You never hear her bragging. I think that was the superstitious part of my mom, that she'd worry if she would say too much, something bad might happen. I often wondered how she knew what a normal family life was. She lived with back in the 20s, in Depression times, with a mom who worked, and yet our life was very normal, certainly compared to all of our friends. She was a stay-at-home mom. And back in those days, let my grandchildren hear this, you went to school in the morning, you walked home at lunch. We lived a mile and a half away from Canterbury School. Yes, it was uphill both ways. And we came home and she was always there. We just always knew that she would be there. She always guided me, education-wise, work-wise, career-wise. She was my accountant, actually. That's probably where I learn the field. I had a Cleveland press route, and you had those cards and you punched them when everybody paid. So I'd bring home all the coins, put them in a jar, and she would take care of it from there. For me, she was always the first to call with good news. Probably somebody you didn't want to tell bad news to. She saw so many great things in all those years. Certainly all the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, bar mitzvahs, weddings. She was able to see all those great parts of life. I found in the last few years, which were tougher for her, that my grandchildren coming there really brought a smile to her face, which we didn't see all the time. She wasn't happy as her memory was leaving her. She wasn't happy that she was in a nursing home, all those kinds of things. But the kids would walk in, and it just changed her mood right away. She was one of the first residents at Wiggins Place, and Ariel would come there with Sandy or Emily, and she was probably a year old or so, and the whole place would light up. And my mother was so proud that everybody would come up to her and say, what a gorgeous granddaughter you have. Eli at Menora Park, we called him the mayor of the Friedman Pavilion. He knew every nook and cranny of that place, and my mother's always concerned he'd run away or get lost. And Emily would say, well, she didn't tell my mother this, but it was a locked unit, so Eli couldn't get any place, but he knew where to get water. He knew where everything was happening. Bea and Stella followed, and Stella's not one to let strangers hold on to her, or people she doesn't know as well. Obviously, my mom wasn't a stranger, but she'd sit there in a wheelchair with her, just normal. And that was a good thing. My grandchildren understood what it's like to be in a nursing home, I think, or at least knew the importance of visiting people there. And Emily said they never complained about going. And they're 8 and 5, but that was even from when they were a lot younger. The last few years were tough, as for her and certainly for us to watch. So as I drive away from Menora Park, after each visit, I think about things I was going to say today, and I'm sure I didn't remember everything. But as you all know, my family is very close to Jewish senior living in Beechwood, Ohio, and that's from from careers and volunteering. And I tell everybody how lucky we are to have what we have in this city. I heard not that long ago the head of the Association of Jewish Homes in North America. He was at one of our meetings, and he spoke, and he looked at the campus and how great everything was, and he said, it's great to have all these beautiful buildings, but what families really want to know is, will you love my mother? I know we have some people here from Menora Park, so thank you for loving my mom.
The next speaker will be the first grandchild, Eric Strum.
I gotta follow that. So I'm Eric Strom. I'm joined by my brother Aaron and Daniel. We're June's sons. Again, we're gonna talk mostly about the memories and maybe some levity there, because while we remember Grandma for being very, very loving, her kindness, her compassion, I don't think I remember a day where, at least to us, she was ever in a bad mood or ever not loving. There's some other things that we remember, both as children and even as adults, that I wanted to share with you. One of the first memories we have of her is actually sleeping over at her and my grandfather's apartment. it was a big deal for us, sleeping bags and everything. But she was well known for her food choices for us and things that we've actually still give to our children today. A lot of it had to do with just toasting cheese on bread and us loving it, or meticulously peeling grapes for us because we didn't like the peel. Now, if my child asked me to do that right now, I'd be like, no. Maybe Nana could do it or something, but yeah, that's one of the great memories. We also remember sitting on her couch, which was so pristine, but it was really only pristine because she had plastic over it. And we still remember that. Or trips to Bernie Schulman's, which we were all talking this morning was like Target before there was Target, right? Where we could get anything we wanted as long as it was under like $1. And we could find all kinds of stuff there, right? And then, later in life when our sports team started winning, and that was new for her, she became a very huge sports fan and would always talk baseball with us and football and basketball. But we were also talking this morning, 99, she's probably one of the few that witnessed all of the Cleveland championships, which is an honor in itself. So we were trying to do the math to see. It may not be totally accurate, but I think we were pretty close. And then later in life, one of our best memories of her was for her 90th birthday, we all went to Las Vegas. The whole family. Just a wonderful trip. And we had some trips afterwards, some great gatherings afterwards, but this one stood in my mind. She wanted to go. We just had a great time. And I still remember playing slots with her. First of all, she'd only pulled the lever. And then every time she won anything more than $1, she wanted me to cash it out. And not cash it out with just a ticket, actually get the cash to give back to her. Just a great trip and a great memory. So, that's something that lives on. And then finally, just words to live by. Really, we remember that every time we got something that was new, the first thing she would tell us was, use it in good health. And definitely words to live by. I hope we all have as good a health as she had. Just an amazing woman. We love you very much. We're going to miss you. But we're going to cherish all the memories and never forget the love that you had for us.
And next we're going to hear from Bill and Sandy's